conclusions into the meaning of life. These short chapters are short, but they are filled with keys for successful living. He delivers directives, challenges, warnings, and exhortations that should be noted by us all. Chapter 11, verse 1 starts with a well-known but kind of a challenging verse. Cast your bread upon the surface of the waters, for you will find it after many days. Well, there's not a challenge in the translating of this from the Hebrew. It translates pretty easily. I mean, it says exactly what it says. But casting your bread upon the waters, and it will return in many days. Who's cast any bread upon the water unless there was a duck or a catfish out there? I mean, if you cast bread upon the waters, what's going to happen to it? It's going to disappear. It's going to soak up and fall out. So, you know, casting your bread upon the waters, that's a little bit confusing. Some of the commentators I read talked about, Solomon invested a lot in maritime adventures. He had ships and boats. You know, that's how Hiram king and how he got all the lumber and stuff for building the temple, and that he was a great maritime kind of guy. Some people say that it's just basically talking about mutual investments, investing in many different things. I find it hard to believe that at this stage in this book, with all of the spiritual advice that Solomon is giving us, that he's now going to start giving us business advice. I don't think that's the case. For me, I think it is a faith-based statement. Cast your bread upon the waters, the things that are valuable, your bread, your livelihood, your life, the important things in your life. Cast them upon the waters. If you spread your joy, you spread your wealth, you spread your investments, you're going to get investments. They're going to return to you after many days. Things that you invest will come back. Verse 2, divide your portions to 7 or even 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on the earth. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You heard that before, right? You drop that one basket, now all your eggs are gone, okay? So diversify, share your wealth. Be smart. You never know what's going to happen. One of the things that popped up in my study was a story back in, where was it? Luke chapter 16. And this is not one that I remembered vividly until I started to read it. You remember the story, I guess it was a parable that Jesus told about the servant, the guy who was not really the best servant. He had kind of squandered some of his master's stuff, and master says, okay, I need a count. Count up what you owe me. You know, let's get the book straight, okay? So dude goes out and says, how much do you owe me? Well, 100, write down 50. Just say you only owe me 50. How much do you owe me? Well, I owed you 50. Well, write down 20. You know, so he adjusted the books where he didn't end up owing as much, and the master saw kind of what he had done, and it was like, well, he's a smart enough guy. You know, I probably ought to keep him around. He's smart enough to figure. I think Solomon is kind of going there. You never know what misfortune is going to come. Spread your wealth around. Spread your ideas. Be smart in your dealings with the things that are valuable to you. Does that make some sort of sense? This is not commentary. This is more me, I guess, than anybody else. But that's kind of what I'm taking out of this. When it's all gone, Luke 19, and I say to you, make friends for yourself by means of the wealth of unrighteousness, so that when it is all gone, they will receive you into the eternal dwellings. You never know what happens next. You know, Solomon's been pretty verbal about you don't know what's going to happen next. How many times has he said that over and over? No one knows what happens next. So to me, that's kind of where we're headed here. Verse 3, if the clouds are full, they pour out rain upon the earth, and whether a tree falls toward the south or towards the north, wherever the tree falls, there it lies. And he who watches the wind will not sow, and he who looks at the clouds will not reap. Okay, once again, how much control do we have? How much control do we have? Watching the wind. He refers to the clouds twice and the wind twice, maybe 3 times. What causes a tree to fall? Probably the wind. So, are we just chasing it? Are we just chasing the wind if we're worried about all of these things? That's what he says. We're just basically chasing the wind. If you're a farmer, when do you need to get the seed in the ground? As soon as possible. Okay? It's not going to grow. I heard someone say one time about a bunch of seed that had not been put in the ground way up into June or July, and he was told, go ahead and plant that cotton. He said, that cotton's not going to come up. Not plant it this late. He said, I know it's not going to come up in the barn. It's sure not going to come up in the barn. So if we try to wait until the time is right, what's a good possibility that's going to happen? Is the time ever perfect? Is the time ever right? Do what you have to do. Don't chase the wind. Don't procrastinate. We don't have any control over the weather. We're going to plant it today and it don't rain. Or we go out there and start to plant and it does rain. How much control we got over that? None. So, don't procrastinate. Do what you should do. If you wait for the perfect time, you may never get started. Verse 5, just as you do not know the path of the wind, boom, and how bones are formed in the womb of a pregnant woman, so you do not know the activity of God who makes all things. Well, there's a pretty good jump, isn't it? From the wind and the weather to the forming of the bones. One translation says the forming of the spirit, how a spirit of a human being is put into the womb of a child, into a child in the womb of a woman before it's born. Well, I got to thinking, well, that's a pretty good jump from there to there, but not really. Are all of these things not in the hands of God? Not in our hands. So Solomon in his wisdom is saying, chasing the wind, worried about a tree falling, if it fell over there or if it fell over there to the right or to the left, it doesn't matter, that's where it lays. And we don't know any more about that than we do about the embryo being formed and the spirit that God puts in a baby inside its mother. So pretty bold thinking. The end result is we will never know everything. We'll never understand everything. And that's what Solomon's been telling us the whole time. We're not going to figure it out. He's the smartest guy, and he didn't figure it out. I'm not going to figure it out, no matter what. So, we see faith and trust in God is the point. That's where Solomon is coming with all of this. That's where he's going to end up this book. Faith in God, trust in God. None of that other stuff matters. It's all futility. It's all worthless. It all is of no value to us. Okay, so that's where we end up. All throughout his writings, he has focused on get it done. Don't be lazy. Sow your seed in the morning and do not be idle in the evening, for you do not know whether morning or evening sowing will succeed, or whether both of them alike will be good. Well, you need to plant that stuff in the morning. Don't go out there and plant it in the... No. I always plant mine in the evening when you... What difference does it make? It's in the hands of God. You don't know if that morning seed's going to be the one that comes up. You don't know if that evening seed's going to be the one that comes up. You don't know that both of them are going to come up. You don't know that neither of them are going to come up. My dad, he used to have a thing hung on his, I can just see it right now. It was my room when I was growing up, and he moved in there. Who plants a seed beneath the sod and waits to see, believes in God. I always remember that. You got faith if you plant it. You got faith that God's going to do what he promised he would do and give growth. Don't be lazy because you don't know which one of those will succeed. What about Proverbs 31:8? Who are we talking about there? Solomon wrote that. The virtuous woman What was her work day like? You remember? In the morning, in the evening, all the time. Okay? Don't be lazy. Get your work done. This is advice of the wisest man. Okay, rejoice, young man. No. Number 7, the light is pleasant and it is good for the eyes to see the sun. You know, he's constantly had this New Testament concept of light versus dark. So the light is good. He constantly talks about the fact that the light is pleasant versus darkness. It's the concept of life over death. You know, he talked about it's better to be a live dog than a dead lion. As long as you're alive, you still got opportunity. You can do good. Things are happening. You're alive. You're still cognizant. There's still stuff in this world. Even though you may have been a lion, if you're dead, what you got now? Nothing. Done deal. So the light is good. That's life. The darkness is not the best. Don't you think that we will be dead much longer than we are alive? Yeah. Yes is the answer to that question. Our time on earth is short. We're going to be dead for a long, long time, for eternity. Wherever we end up, it's going to be eternity. So the light is good. While we're alive, we still got opportunity. Okay? Chapter 12, when we get to the end, we will expound much more on that. Verse 8, indeed, if a man should live many years, let him rejoice in them all, and let him remember the days of darkness, for they will be many. Same thing. Everything that is to come will be futility. I know this musician in New Orleans who I doubt very seriously would think he would ever be quoted in a Sunday morning Bible class. But he says, die with memories, not with dreams. That's pretty good, I thought. Die with memories and not with dreams. The dreams are the things that you didn't achieve because you procrastinated. You didn't do what you should have done. So die with memories instead of dreams. Happiness is a choice, right? I remember Robert Rawson right up there on that. I think he had a flannel board. It might have been that far back. Maybe a blackboard. We're going to write down all the things that make you happy. He started that sermon. Oh, and of course, probably money was probably the first thing. That's the first thing that pops in people's mind, which should be at the bottom of the list, maybe. Money, family, friends, this, that property, this, that, all these things we got a list of that's going to make you happy. Did any of those make us happy? No. What makes us happy? We make ourselves happy. Things don't make ourselves happy. So, Solomon is telling us over and over, be happiness. It's a choice. Focus on balance. That's what he keeps talking about. We can't run too far to the left. We can't run too far to the right. We have to keep a balance in our lives. It has to make sense, okay? We have to be happy. We have to stay away from anger. We have to stay away from negative attitudes. He's already told us that good days and bad days come from who? Where do days come from? Every one of them. They're all gifts of God. In the New Testament, we know that if we have bad days, what is that? An opportunity to overcome. So bad days are really good days. So there are no bad days, right? So happiness is something that we have to control ourselves. Negative attitudes can rob us of happiness. Negativity is a robber. It robs us of happiness. And as Solomon says, is futility. No value. No value whatsoever. Verse 9, rejoice, young man, during your childhood, and let your heart be pleasant during the days of young manhood, and follow the impulses of your heart and the desires of your eyes. We'll stop right there. Again, he's saying enjoy life, especially those of our youth while we still have strength and passion. Follow the ways of your heart and the sights of your eyes, he says. Follow those things. You're young, you're strong, we're passionate. We can do these things. Enjoy those things while we're still alive. But the last of that verse says, yet, know that God will bring you to judgment for all of these things. Once again, we got Solomon banging down the door of New Testament concepts right here. Luke 12:22, but there is nothing covered up that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. Accordingly, whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light, and what you have whispered in the inner rooms will be proclaimed on the housetops. Remember last week we talked about the little bird would deliver it? That was in chapter 10 of Ecclesiastes. If you say it in the bedroom, you think it's a secret? Little bird told me. It's going to get out. There are no secrets. Luke 8:17, for nothing is concealed that will not become evident, or anything hidden that will not be known and come to light. So take care how you listen, for whoever has, to him more will be given, and whoever does not have, even what he thinks he has will be taken away. Worried about all that sounds like futility to me. That's what Solomon says. Enjoy your life. Keep balance. Remember your God, as we will get into chapter 12, because all things will come out, whether it's good or whether it's bad. It's going to be brought out. So, remove vexation from your heart, translated anger, and put away pain from your body, because childhood and the prime of life are fleeting. Grief, sorrow, worry, anxiousness, things that trouble the heart and mind. These are things that trouble our spirit. Then he says, and remove pain, evil that can cause pain in our flesh. So he's talking about spirit and flesh. He's covering both things to get, pardon me, to get rid of these things. Anything about that ever written in the New Testament? Matthew 6:25, for this reason I say to you, do not be worried about your life as to what you will eat, what you will drink, nor your body as to what you will put on it. Is life not more than food, and the body more than clothing? He's all over these concepts constantly through this book. Philippians 4:6, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and pleading with thanksgiving, let your requests be made to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. So, we see the wise man continuing to give us the concepts of New Testament doctrine. And because we have the New Testament, and we've studied them, and we're familiar with those teachings, as we read through this stuff, it just seems like same old, okay? I mean, you know, yeah, I know that. I mean, Jesus said it, John said it, Paul said it, whatever. Jesus, John, and Paul had not said these things when Solomon wrote this. There was no New Testament. These ideas and these concepts that he's coming up with are brand new. When did Moses say anything about this? When did Samuel say anything about this? David, maybe in the Psalms and in the Proverbs, it's his dad, so maybe, perhaps that. But even in the great prophets of Daniel and Elijah and Isaiah and Jeremiah, we're not talking about this stuff. This is all New Testament application stuff. This man was brilliant. He had a complete concept of what the future was all about, even though he knew there was no control over it. Very, very brilliant man. Absolutely. No one has written a book like the Holy Spirit. And we'll talk about that. We're going to have time. We're going to make it. I was worried about it. Okay, so verse 10, let's finish it. Most of us can relate. So remove vexation from your heart and put away pain from your body, because childhood and the prime of life are fleeting. I will not ask for a raise of hands on that question, okay? Childhood and the prime of life. How long has it been? Just a blink. Kathy Lott gave me a postcard here a couple of 3 weeks ago. Right here, I just keep it in my Bible. I wrote it to her brother, Brian Hogan. Looks like about 1963. It was addressed to Brian Hogan, Batesville, Mississippi, USA. You think that would have gotten there today? No. That's from 50, almost 60 years ago. Don't take long. Don't take long. That's right. Couldn't hardly wait to make 18 or 21 or whatever. You know, it was the birthdays. You couldn't wait to get another one. I hate to see them coming now. I mean, I'm glad that they're coming, but I just hit 71 in October. And as Stephen Wright says, I plan on living forever. So far, so good. Okay, as we get into chapter 12, we will continue this idea of remembering. Be aware, be smart, remember. 12:1, remember also your Creator in the days of your youth, before the evil days come and the years draw near when you will say, I have no delight in them. What do you see different about chapter 12, verse 1? He's looking back. It's getting to the end. He says, remember your Creator. He doesn't say remember God. He's talked about God and talked about the Lord, but now he's saying remember your Creator. Yeah, well, that kind of opens up a little bit of another door, doesn't it? He is our Creator. Does that not bring forth an idea maybe of more power and of majesty that He created us? He is our Creator. The reason that we are here. He created us for a purpose. 3 points. We cannot enjoy our life without God. That comes from chapter 2. God will judge man in the end, chapters 11 and 12. As we age, our senses may become dull and we lose the ability to think about God in His Word. He says, the years come and draw nigh when you say, I have no delight in them. I'm not happy with my life. I'm old now. Things aren't as good as they used to be. He already talked about thinking about the good old days. What is that all about? What are we going to do about the good old days? Futility. Worried about that. That's a waste of time. So, remember God. I don't know if you're a poetry lover or a reader of books or whatever, but chapter 12, 1 through 7 is some of the most magnificent writing that you'd ever really want to come across in literature. It's a masterpiece. The symbolism and the imagery that he brings out here is off the chart. The interpretations of all of this stuff may vary, but the bottom line is without question, frailty comes with old age, then is followed by what? Death. That's what this is. Old age, frailty, death. That's the way of the world. Sounds kind of negative. True or false? True. It is true. The young are so involved with living that there's little thought about death. Young people don't think about death. And even in the horrible circumstances when they may lose one of their peers through accident or through whatever horror may come about in high school or whatever, when when, teenagers, whatever, are killed. It's horror for a minute, but does that stop them from not just plunging right along into their life? They don't stop and start contemplating death, and I need to start. No, that's not the way of the young mind, is it? No, it's not. Solomon's talking about the mind of the aged, those who have lived, those who are looking back, those who have perspective, who can see things in reality. We cannot enjoy our life without God. We said that. God will judge man. We age. Our senses may become dull. Maybe we lose focus or whatever, and we don't focus as much on remembering our Creator. But this term Creator that he continues to use through chapter 12 just seems more serious approach to looking at God. He says, before the evil days come, the evil days, Satan, death, I have no delight. One thing that I read said, as we get old, then we turn to God. We're going to focus now. I've done all of this wild oats or whatever or mistake or foolish living, however you want to refer to it. Now that I'm old, I'm going to settle in. We're going to try to get. So the prime of life we give to Satan, right? And then this old wore out, what I got left, that's what I'm going to give to God. Isn't that the lame and the broken leg and the spotted one-eyed sacrifice that God said, I don't want that? Think about that. We're going to give him the spare change, what's left? No, that's not the way it should be. That's not what he wants. Not after the gifts of life that God has given us. We owe him all. We owe him all. Before the sun, the light, the moon, and the stars are darkened. Sun, light, moon, stars, brightness, goodness, brightness, good things. Before they're darkened and the clouds return. Clouds are usually, trouble. Here come the clouds. So while these bright things, before the clouds and before the darkness. And then, man, the literary genius starts. In the day that the watchmen of the house tremble, and the mighty men stoop, the grinding ones stand idle because they are few, and those who look through the windows grow dim. The watchmen of the house, those who are supposed to be guarding, they're scared. They're tremble. The mighty men, are they strong? They're going to protect us? No, they stoop. They're being overcome. The grinding, I thought about the grinding meal because he refers to that later, but one of the commentators I read talked about our teeth, the grinding that you chew because they are few. We start to lose them. Not going to be a whole lot of. So this imagery once again is jumping out at us. Eyesight grows dim. The windows, those who look through the windows grow dim. And the doors on the street are shut as the sound of the grinding mill is low. Losing our hearing? Sound's getting low. The ladies, the daughters of the song will sing softly. It's only, we're losing our strength. We're losing our consciousness. We're losing our ability to chew and eat. We're losing our ability to see. We're losing our ability to hear. Solomon's portraying age here in a brilliant form. And he's hitting it right on the head. He's got it. Doors are shut. Can't hear the sound of the grounding mill, of the songs being sung. None of those things. Then he says, furthermore, and what does that usually mean? Furthermore, in addition to, by the way, on top of that, we begin to be afraid of high places, afraid of high places and terrors on the road. We're scared. Who likes to get up on a ladder these days? Not me. I try to stay, about two steps is about as far as I want to get up there. Scared of the high places. What about terrors on the road? I used to be tough as a pine knot. I didn't care where I went. I've been in some pretty rough places in my day. I didn't care. I busted right up in there. I don't go there anymore. Age. These are things Solomon is talking about. He's got it, hasn't he? He's got it, hasn't he? He has got it. The almond tree blossoms. Almond tree blossoms. Anybody know what color an almond tree's blossoms are? White. Like mine and Ray's head. The almond trees blossom. You get white-haired. Aged. The grasshopper drags himself along. Who's seen a grasshopper dragging? Man, a grasshopper, try to catch one of those things. He's open for business, man. No. Even the grasshopper's slowing down. He can't even jump like he's supposed to. I didn't understand about the caperberry, but the caperberry back in those days was like an aphrodisiac. Okay? It helped with sexual stamina. That's what they felt. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But the bottom line is, no. We're old. All that's gone. Caperberry's not going to do any good. It don't matter how many of those things you eat. No stamina there. So he's hitting on everything you can possibly refer to in the aging process. So, elderly face reduced sexual desire. The berry does no good. The last part of chapter 5 starts with 4. For a man goes to his eternal home while mourners go about in the street. 4 means for what? For these things. There were 10 ailments that he listed up here. 10 things that he brought out about aging. For these things that I'm talking about. So he explains that these ailments plague aged people, and after that they are headed for where? Man goes to his eternal home. Eternal. There's no hope of returning to the vitality of youth. Ponce de Leon, was it him? I don't think he ever found that thing, did he? Down there in Florida? That fountain of youth? It never showed. Okay, there's no hope. There is a new home where we will live forever. But the mourners, while we go to our eternal home, the mourners go about in the street. They're mourning, but they're still alive. They're still out in the streets. They can mourn. Maybe there's some memory there. But as far as those who have gone to the eternal home, that is a done deal. Verse 6, he says it again. Remember him, the Creator, before the silver cord is broken and the golden bowl is crushed. That's pretty cool. I like that. The silver cord and the golden bowl. Silver, value. Golden, value. Okay, he uses these two precious metals before the silver cord, the golden bowl. These are things of value. Youth, life, before they're broken, before they're gone. The cord's broken and the golden bowl is crushed. What are they worth now? Not what they were. Not what they were. Yeah, these are precious things. The pitcher by the well is shattered, and the wheel at the cistern is crushed. We had gold and silver, precious things of value. What about that pitcher by the well and that thing to draw it up? Are they worth anything to you? I've been in the water business all of my life. I have always told my customers, as far as what you've got to have, It's number 2 on the list. It's right under air. After air, you got to have some water. So we see him bringing up the valuable things, precious things, and gold and silver, and the pitcher and the cistern by the well. These are things that are important to life, things of value. Then the dust will return to the dust as it was, and the spirit will return to God who gave it. You know, back in the beginning, he said, who knows where that spirit, or the breath of man goes, or the breath of an animal, or where does that spirit go? We don't know where that goes. And wondering about it's kind of futility. But he answered it, and he answers it now. Where does it go? It goes back to God who gave it to us in the first place. So, at the end of all of this, as Solomon reaches towards the end of his cycle of life, that we see it begins in youth. Back in chapter 11, verse 9, rejoice, young man, during your childhood. As we study that, then it goes through getting old, chapter 12, 1 through 5, and then ending in death. Chapter 6 and 7, we return back to dust. And when he gets to chapter 12, verse 8, he concludes with the same way he started. Anybody remember the first verse of the first chapter of Ecclesiastes? He ends right here saying, vanity of vanities, says the preacher. All is vanity. So, we see that since all life ends in death, what's the final vanity? Death. How much control we got over that? None. So, it all ends in death. Since this is truth, what does Hebrews 9, verse 27 say? It is appointed to man once to die. After that, the judgment. So that's truth. Here we got Solomon quoting the Hebrew writer, or the Hebrew writer quoting Solomon. I guess duck, chicken, egg, you know. But New Testament concepts once again. So, this is truth. What is essential? What is essential for us, brothers and sisters? To remember God. Because everything else, how many times should I say it? Everything else, all is vanity. Faith, works. What are we going to do about that? What good are they going to do us? Important, yes, don't get me wrong. Y'all know me well enough to say that I'm not saying faith and works are not important. Well, what's the bottom line? It's all vanity. It's all in the hands of God. So, what must we do? Trust God. Put our faith in God. That's all that matters. And that's what Solomon says. Okay, how to have a meaningful life is the ultimate question of the preacher. That's an honorable endeavor for us all, isn't it? Don't we all want to have a meaningful life? Well, sure we do. Sure we do. Verse 10, in addition to being a wise man, like that wasn't enough, the preacher also taught the people knowledge. What did Hosea say? Why were God's people lost? Lack of knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, so here's a wise man. Not only was he wise, but he wanted to teach the people knowledge. What did he do? He pondered. He searched out. He arranged his words. Many proverbs, delightful words, to write words of truth correctly. There are 5 things here that he said he tried to do in his wisdom. He pondered this stuff. He searched it out. He arranged his delightful words, and they were truth. This wasn't a minor task. He didn't sit down one Sunday afternoon and say, well, let me write this book. He has put a lifetime of knowledge into this thing, and we have it right here in our hands this morning. We got it. Wisest man, instructions on how to live a meaningful life is right here before us. The words of a wise man are like goads. What's a goad? What a goad is? Somewhere in Acts they mention goads. It's like a prod, isn't it? Like a goad. You got a cow, you want to go, you got a prod, you got to goad them. So the words of a wise man, okay, I'm listening. They're like goads. What about a well-driven nail? You drive that dude in there, it's going to stick, isn't it? These are making points. They're like goads. They're like a well-driven nail. These are not to be taken lightly. These are important. They will stick with you. They are like goads. They're like well-driven nails. And a master of these collections, shouldn't we endeavor for all we've got to master these things? We've got to know them. It's got to be knowledge. It's got to be part of our life. We've got to try to make these things work for us. The answers are right here. We've always said it. Ornette Coleman, crazy jazz guy, said the art of living is written in the Bible. The art of living is written in the Bible. It's written right here for us. And now, do we go ahead and drop this bomb? They are given by one shepherd. There's a capital S. Now, the greatest shepherd and the master shepherd is Jesus Christ, but this man's dad wrote about a shepherd, didn't he? He was a shepherd. He understood what a shepherd was. And all of this stuff, as Solomon says, is given by one shepherd. And we never are able, in its futility, for us to try to separate the Godhead. God the Father is our creator. We should remember Him. God the Son made the ultimate sacrifice to give us salvation. But what is our guidance? What is our hope? What is our instruction? It's the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is this book. These are the words. It's the words. This is where the knowledge comes. It comes from the Spirit, the shepherd, God. The conclusion? No. Let's look at verse 12. We got a minute. But beyond this, my son, be warned. The writing of many books is endless, and excessive devotion to books is wearying to the body. We got books dating back to 3500 BC. A lot of books been written since 3500 BC. That's well over 5,000 years. There's a lot of them out there. What do they say? All of them true? Half of them true? A lot of words. You got to be smart. This one is given by the shepherd. Here's one we can pay attention to. Don't worry about all those books. Overstudy can be wearying to the body. You can only take in so much. It just gets to the point. I had an opportunity to be at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City a month or so ago. And somebody asked me, well, did you just walk around in there until you couldn't walk anymore? You just couldn't stand up? I said, no. I stayed in there until my mind couldn't take anymore. You can only look at that stuff. You can only absorb so much. And it's like, I can't absorb any of this anymore. I got to go. I'm not tired, but I just can't. I'm done. I'm wasting my time, So, too many books, too much knowledge. Focus on the stuff. Focus on this. The conclusion, when all has been heard, is fear God and keep His commandments, because this applies to every person. For God will bring every act to judgment, everything which is hidden, whether it is good or evil. You can jot them down. We don't have time. John 5:28. Well, do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in the tombs will hear his voice and will come out. Those who did the good deeds to a resurrection of life, those who committed the bad deeds to a resurrection of judgment. Wow, John, that sounds like Solomon. 2 Corinthians 5:10, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive compensation for his deeds done through the body in accordance with what he has done, whether good or bad. Wow, Paul, that sounds like Solomon. Thank you all so much for your interest and attention during this quarter. It's been a very enlightening study for me. I hope that it has benefited each of you as well.